Tuesday, July 29th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, we talk late July gardening, folks. Special focus on drought impacts on plants, plus what goes into garden design and upkeep. The lines are open. Get in touch. All right, if you want some tips, you've got some questions, you know the drill. 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206. The Signal at cbc.ca. Meghan McCarthy, Assistant Horticulturist, Memorial University Botanical Garden, to read your email signature.
Oh, yes.
Welcome back. And Sara Hodder, Sweet Pea Garden Design. Welcome. First time. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Excellent.
Yeah. How we, I don't know, how are we both doing this time of year, right? We're in late July. How are things going for both of you?
Yeah.
Busy.
Yes. Yeah. Busy. Lots of watering. Lots of contemplating life as you water because you can't rush it. Admiring the beauty. Yeah.
Todd was in, and same thing. It's just like watering, Adam watering. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, lots of watering.
Yeah. Yeah. We need some irrigation, sounds like.
Yeah.
But
we're doing a lot of watering in our home garden, but
Yeah.
where I'm working with new clients, there's a little less pressure to water in the newer gardens as we're talking early design stages. But the clients that do have them, I'm like sending little texts like, don't forget to water your new babies, like just little nudges, because you take it for granted how much water these plants actually need,
totally.
right, to survive.
And before I ask the next question in my head, tell us a bit about Sweet Pea Garden Design, if you could.
Sweet Pea Garden Design is my new garden design business, obviously. It's a focus on growing food. So launched middle of June, so it's brandy new. And just trying to encourage people to incorporate some food with their flowers, acting as a bit of a coach if you have questions, helping you install, helping you design, and then also with the maintenance piece. So far so good. Also seems to be a lot of interest in some redesign, like people that have established gardens but want to start incorporating some food or like moving things around or don't realize that soil is super important. And, why does my shrub look like this? It's so unhealthy. And I'm like, has it ever had any compost or any kind of food in the last 10 years? So, yeah.
Thanks for these little beautiful things. Tell folks in Radioland what now. In Videoland, like, look, we put the show up on YouTube every day, so if you want to see what I'm holding in my hand, you can look on YouTube later this afternoon, or we can just get a nice Radioland description.
Well, I wish we had smell-o-vision because that
these are great.
Yeah, it's a little jar full of an arrangement of sweet peas. They're one of my favorite flowers, which is why I named my company Sweet Pea Garden Design. They're just a beauty.
They smell amazing.
They do.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
There we
And they're a
go.
really interesting plant. And they climb, so you can put them, I've got them everywhere in my yard, and, they climb all the things that they can.
Nice.
So what do we need to know about watering right now? And I say this as like a CBC colleague of mine did and like coverage from CBC NL as well across platforms about drought. Like Maddie Ryan did a piece. So if you Google it, no doubt there's a drought. Scientists say NL water levels are historically low. Climate change is a driving factor, according to Paula Daw. That was up July 23rd by Maddie. So yes, watering given everything.
Totally. Yeah. So when we think about historically, when I've thought about, I guess, watering in the past, it's been, okay, something is dry, you put a little bit of water on it, and that's sort of it. But it when we're at this level of dry, there are things that are happening beyond just like something's a little dry and you put some water on it, because the soil is becoming so what's called hydrophobic. That's your word of the day. When it gets so dry, it's really hard to rehydrate. So, in the past when we had some rain, the soil wouldn't dry out at such a level that when you watered it, that water would almost go further. But now it's so dry that you almost have to water like twice as long because you have to like get it wet initially first, and then it needs to absorb, and also it needs to percolate down where, because it's not just like the top that's dry, it's like dry
Everything's
further
dry down deep.
Yeah. So, and that's especially hard, like if you have mulch, or if you don't, like if it has to get through an additional layer, if you have plants with like a taproot versus like roots at the surface, you're having to water like at different rates. And then there's plants that like, obviously show their stress a lot more, that might need like a thorough soak in, or maybe you put a plant in the wrong place. And it's in a drier spot that he would even normally need. So it's quite the production. And the thing about watering, the biggest thing is like you can't rush it at all. Like there's no way to make it go faster. It just takes as long as it takes, which like in our world when we're very, very busy people, and it's maybe something that we didn't account for when we set up our gardens, because in the past we haven't had to water this much. Like watering potatoes, like who knew that we would be doing that, So we want to rush it, and it's a really good practice of just, it is what it is, and it takes as long as it takes. But sometimes we, don't think of that and want to kind of rush along.
Sorry, go ahead, Sara.
Well, I was just going to add to that, all of that, yes. And also I've been trying to encourage folks to install some drip irrigation, because that does help sort of the slow, steady water, as opposed to, trying to just like soak it and it not, like you're saying, not able to absorb properly. So with the drip irrigation, it's just drips for a steady amount of time, and you can set it, there's certain pressures you can set it at if you want to be super specific and know like, okay, this needs 1 hour, turn it on, turn it off, and it's done, as opposed to like having to stand there, depending on the size of your garden. Sometimes I still choose to hand water because it's beautiful and you can check everything out and really see what's going on. But if you know this needs a major drink and I don't have time, you can just turn on the drip and trust that it gets done.
So how does soil become hydrophobic?
Part of it is based on its composition. So for example, like if you have like potted plants, like peat, for example, is extremely hydrophobic. So a lot of Newfoundlanders have incorporated peat into their gardens because that's what's locally available. But once it dries out, it's really hard to rehydrate. So, and also in a lot of like your potting mixes, like if you buy, any mix with like perlite, it comes with like perlite, peat, and other things in it. So that's a little bit of it is the setup, I guess. And also depending on where it is, obviously soil in like full sun is gonna dry out a lot faster than things in the shade. But it's mostly like the prolonged dryness, and then when you go to water, oftentimes you're only really wetting that top, like, half inch or an inch. You're like, okay, that's good. And then, so that evaporates so quickly.
So then if that's evaporating, then the plants are getting the water they need, and then you're getting some grow problems.
And they're transpiring more. So they're like, as plants take up water, they only really retain like 5% of it. They kind of, through gas exchange, are getting rid of it all the time. So when it's hotter, they're transpiring more. That's when they talk about like corn sweat in the US and that sort of thing. Like the plants are like transpiring like so much more. So not only like they need more water and they're getting less water. So they're kind of depleting the soil of water quicker.
On the show yesterday, we talked about the fact that typically when you think about the island of Newfoundland, typically it would get 1,400 millimeters of water a year. And now, we have this climate change discussion. We've got the story just talking about drought conditions. And then if you look at and just go talk to people, and like especially in Central, right, about their wells and this type of a thing. It doesn't sound like a spot that used to be in wet. It's hard to kind of pivot towards, okay, well, what does it mean for when we're not wet with all this rain, and how do we respond to it?
Totally. And it is totally climate change too, because we have to remember that it's all about like predictability of weather, which with climate change that goes out the window. So we could be dry, we could still get 1,400, but maybe that means a flash flood, because what happens is when the water starts to come, because of that, of how hydrophobic the soil is, it immediately like runs off. It doesn't like percolate as easily. So if we get a big rain, that's what contributes to part of the disasters that happen. So it's all a cycle.
Either it's way too wet, or nowhere near enough.
Yeah.
And this is the world that we
Yes.
keep kind of moving in towards.
And even if you're trying to collect water, like we have, downspouts off our roofs, we've chatted about water collection and how much you can figure out how much each house could collect from their roofs just from runoff. You can't do that when there's no rain. Like if that's part of our system, and our buckets are dry, and I volunteer to water a garden up on Mount Scio, and they are using it from a stream nearby, pulling water from a stream. The stream is dry. Like it's we have to shift. We have to figure out a way. I don't know what the answer is.
No,
but there's got to be a shift.
Well, even just, talking about it, acknowledging it, thinking about it, realizing it, like all of that is important.
Yeah.
Right? I think for the
And
conversation.
planning for it for sure. Yeah.
We've started I've started saving. We have a dehumidifier in our basement.
Oh,
So instead of dumping that down the sink now, I'm like bringing it up and dumping it in our watering buckets.
Yeah.
Right,
Even
of
that,
course.
Good
right?
idea.
It's there. It's available.
Yeah.
Folks, you're listening to The Signal. It is a gardening day. If you would like to get in touch with us here for tips or to talk about your grow season, are you experiencing drought conditions? Have you noticed things with your garden? 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us, 709-327-8206. The Signal at cbc.ca for emails. Uvati Feltham is on the line from Glovertown. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How you doing? How's your summer going?
Yeah, it's okay. But last week we have dry and hot weather, and then in my garden kind of slow. But 2-3 days we had rain, so they catch up very fast. So this year I ordered a half truckload of soy. I hope the garden will do well, but I think the soil, it doesn't have much nutrition because a lot of stone, small stone and sand, But then when I add some medical go, and then they seem to be okay. And the garden in my greenhouse is very skinny, a lot of tomatoes, so it doesn't have many fruit like it used to be. And outside the garden, the zucchini, I have like 4 pans zucchini. Most the female, they don't have male flower. Our neighbor came around, tried to get some polish from the male flower. Actually, my question is, I use a medical go for my gardening. Excuse me. But I see a lot online, they talk about use baking soda and beer and sugar and vinegar for fertilizer. I haven't tried yet. I will attempting to try. Have you do that? Because it's real, or it just, they just talk online that make people bring more attention.
Sorry, could you clarify? So you've seen online people using other things for nutrients, like using baking soda and beer and stuff for nutrients, or for like pest issues?
Yeah, use for make it encourage root to grow. Use baking soda, water, and beer, or maybe brown sugar or sugar and salt and whatever. I wonder, have you tried it? I have not tried. I want
These
to do.
are like homemade fertilizer concoctions. Yeah.
That's a tricky one, because when you get fertilizer or like natural fertilizers like kelp, kelp and fish based ones, when you buy them, it says how much of the NPK that you're getting, and I would be really curious about what things like those like local household things, what is, because when those things are made, they kind of eliminate a lot of other things, including a lot of like salts and other things that plants don't like. Like I'm picturing something like baking soda probably has other things in it that the plants don't like. So it's just a little bit of like a wild, wild west. So a lot of them I haven't tried. And like sugar, for example, like I would be wary of I feel like that would just give them one boost and then we burn out, kind of
Yeah.
like children's style.
and may actually introduce some more pests, because a lot of
Yeah.
these things you mentioned, we often use, like beer is such a common one to get slugs and baking soda.
Yeah.
For,
Beer is
to kill
good
ants
while
and-
you're gardening.
Yes,
Maybe not in your garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting that those are being offered as fertilizers,
Yeah.
because usually you hear them to control pests
Totally.
sometimes.
So what I would probably do if you wanted to do, because I'm all for experiments. I think that's how we learn, and if that engages you in your garden, great. I would probably do ones more based on like turning organic matter in your garden into like compost, for example, or experimenting with like compost tea. If you have a compost anyway, and you have like a little bubbler and a bucket, experimenting with something like that, because that's going to be a little bit more probably reliable. But that's interesting that the internet is a wild place.
Yvonne, are you using any kelp or anything? Are you, because of Glovertown area, Traytown, Collis Harborside, a lot of kelp that can be used there, easy access. Are you using that in any of your gardening?
Yeah, I use that one, but it's my problem now. Like, I had to go get it, and
Yeah.
this year I neglect my garden, be quite busy with storm and landscape. We had to try to improve our land. So, but I found a neighbor, they get fish, So they throw away fish in the water, I say, oh boy. So one day I go get a bucket, say, can you fill all those cod head and cut and keep in the bucket? And then I bury my garden, but it's the problem, it's too big, and they take long time to decompose it. But I found capelin in my in freezer. If I put the capelin in my garden 1 week, you can see big difference.
Great.
Maybe I try to go back to our Newfoundland trick, use capelin or seaweed.
Totally. Yeah.
The kelp is excellent. And my in-laws have quite an amazing garden there in Eastport, and we often drive out near Traytown to get loads and loads of kelp.
Yeah.
And it's mind-blowing what a difference it makes.
Totally. And fall is a good time to collect it, because then the salts and everything through the winter wash out, and it breaks down a little bit, and then by the spring it's ready to roll.
Yeah, now this year I should buy 1 truckload of kelp to dump in my garden, and then next year hopefully we're doing okay. But now it's when after rain we had a lot. Peas start to grow and vegetables. They do okay.
Sounds
Thank
lovely.
you.
Thanks,
nice
Yvonne.
job.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so I've got Yvonne on Facebook. Her garden's fantastic. I get and also she gives me updates. Anyone related to me in Glovertown area, I get little updates from folks. I'm not going to say necessarily Yvonne, but let me just say, I know what everyone's up to in Glovertown.
Good.
So we're trying to say.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I really enjoy the discussion. Like you get Yvonne phoning, just wondering, right? Here's what we're seeing online, especially nowadays, where you can see so many like ideas of what to be at.
Yeah.
It's like, well, is this really like where's the? And so it's such a great conversation to have around this.
Yeah. And I love hearing about what people are doing.
Me too. And like you said, I love people experimenting, because it does get you out in the garden. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes you could do some kind of experiment and lose like a ton of your crops, and it would be heartbreaking. But I guess that's one way to learn.
We got a note. Hello from beautiful Torbay. Came across this webbing and critter on a 25-year-old cultured cherry tree. This is the 3rd branch we've removed. Never had this in the past. Do we have a problem? So that's from Chris. And let me turn my screen around. Can you both see that?
Yeah. Yeah, that looks like there's 2 different types of tent caterpillar. And you just have to keep cutting it out and then burn
Burn
the parts, the bad parts. Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't, what happens?
It just keeps spreading.
Yeah.
And then, if they're in a spot, they like to come back. So, yeah, unfortunately.
So that's Meghan McCarthy there, folks, assistant horticulturist, Memorial University Botanical Garden. Also with us today, Sara Hodder, Sweet Pea Garden Design. The numbers to call, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. text us 709-327-8206, the signal at cbc.ca. So we're trying to grow, we've got last summer we had a teeny tiny raised bed for a very specific thing to grow perilla leaves. This summer we've expanded. We've got a bigger raised bed with a bunch of other stuff.
Very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm slowly but surely getting pulled into gardening as I host the show, right? Yeah, it's really...
Welcome to the dark side.
So we're trying to grow squash. And there's white spots, and it's like this fungal thing on the leaves.
Powdery mildew?
Yeah. Other than picking them off, and it just keeps growing back. What do we do with this? Or is there anything?
Well, you may have a definitive answer. I sometimes I leave it because it doesn't often affect
anything else.
the vegetable that's growing. If it's really bothering you or if it's like spreading to other plants, sometimes you can spray it down. Again, something I saw on the internet, but I haven't yet tried, is milk.
Yes, I heard that too, and I'm always afraid to try it because I don't.
Also, milk's really expensive.
Yeah, and me and Dairy Milk are friends, so yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you have a different opinion, but sometimes you can just leave it.
Okay. And
I
the squash
leave it.
still grows. Like we've got little teeny tiny squash growing right now, and I'm kind of like, you can do it.
Yeah. And I think powdery mildew actually with the drought is one we're going to see more because when I was in Victoria, pretty much everything would get powdery mildew because with like fungal, because it's a fungal issue, and with fungus, like big swings in moisture can do it. And when something's too wet, it gets powdery mildew. When it's too dry, but if your leaf is still photosynthesizing and it's not, like Sara said, it's not one that really like eats through your leaves or anything. Like to me, like. Again, in Victoria, when I would grow squash, every squash and zucchini would be covered in powdery mildew, and it was just kind of the way that the cookie crumbled. And it doesn't really get on the fruit, I find, very much, So, you can try to hose it off, but I find it doesn't really come off. It just looks kind of gross. But also, I find zucchini and squash leaves look gross near the end of the season anyway. So they're just
they kind of look like they've been through a war.
Into the fruit, and bless them.
Yeah, poor little solar panels.
Exactly.
We did pick the flowers and just a little bit of. I think I may have mentioned that. I probably mentioned this all the time, but anyways, doesn't matter. A little bit of flour and water, and then kind of like deep fried them and with a bit of salt and and they just look beautiful on a plate. And even though they're like an area, it disappears in your mouth in like 0.2 of a second. Really nice.
Yeah. Do you ever stuff them with like cream cheese?
So I haven't yet, and I need to. So what else do you? So just cream cheese, or what else do you put in them?
Some like herbs.
Yeah.
I do like cream cheese and herbs. I mean, I'm talking like I do this all the time. I don't do it all the time, but I did it like twice, and it was delicious. But mostly if you want to feel fancy. Yeah. And also like Uvati, sometimes you have like too many male flowers or whatever, and you can pluck them off.
Take those guys and just put them into the deep fryer.
Yeah. Yes. I like it.
So good.
Join us on the line. We've got Pamela on the line from Cowhead. How you doing? Hello.
Okay.
Hey, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, perfect. I pulled over because I was afraid I was going to lose my bars.
Oh, yeah.
So, really quickly, in case I do lose you, I have a garden in Cowhead, and I want to know, I've already planted parsnip and carrot, and I'm wondering if I were to apply kelp or seaweed at this point, in they're very small plants right now, would it do any good for me to apply right now, or is kelp and seaweed something that you need to do as a preparatory before you plant, or like when it's fallow if you want to increase the nutrients?
Yeah. Have you ever tested your soil? Like usually we'll collect the kelp and sort of pile it up and let one season pass to get the rain wash through it. It's very high in salt, obviously, because it's coming from the ocean. So I would be inclined to sort of test your soil and see if it could take that intensity of a sort of a vitamin shot, a protein shot.
Yeah. Also with
right. So what I've done in the past is soak the kelp in water for a long time and change off the water like you do with salt beef. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Do a little taste test to see if you got it all.
Right, gross. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, if I did that now, is it too late? Like, I probably should not apply that right now because it might kill my plants. I might over-vitamin them, is what you're saying.
Oh, I always am a bit concerned with like big, raw organic matter and little plants because that organic matter needs to like be breaking down in the soil. And I don't know if this is just like personal experience, but I always am a bit worried with mixing like little tiny plants and really big chunky like leaves and that sort of thing. I for little plants, I would rather little pieces, like littler chunks. And also too, you think of the kelp, like will have a lot of like porosity in it, because it's still like wavy and chunky. And then it's a little bit harder to tell, like, does this need water? And like little insects can hide in there a little bit easier. So if you can, and because it's like it is getting a bit late in the season, if you're only kind of starting them now, I would probably put that to the side for next year and maybe just do like something smaller like compost or maybe some like leaves that have been like degrading for a little while and do that instead.
Yeah.
Or even like kelp in liquid form,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you want to do like a kelp tea or something like that, or even like if you're getting really, really serious, like puree some up and make a little
Oh my
like
God.
a little
I just
smoothie.
learned a new term.
Yeah.
We've learned a new
All
term.
about the teas. Well, compost tea, kelp tea. Yeah.
And then I guess once my season's finished, then I can just take my watered down kelp and like just blend it in with my rototiller and just get it in there in the soil before next year.
Yeah. That sounds like a good plan.
You don't even
Okay.
have to rototill too heavily. Like sometimes you can just lay it on top, and it's going to do its thing over the season for, your next season because the whole no dig is really an interesting way of gardening, and it makes a lot of sense because your soil, all the microorganisms in your soil are working so hard, and when you start sort of messing with them, it's going to make them have to work extra hard to do all that good work
Right.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And you got a little bit of wind up in Cowhead too, so it'll help your soil from blowing away.
It
Just a little bit of wind.
Very still this morning. Very still. We did have wind
good.
yesterday, but the wind is good because it keeps the nippers away, right?
There you go. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I'll take it. Very true.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thanks, Pamela. Pamela there calling from Cowhead.
Love Cowhead.
Oh, yes. Fantastic spot.
Bay.
Kelp tea. How would one go about making kelp tea?
Oh, it's been a while for me.
Yeah.
Have you
I
done it
mean,
more recently?
Like a tea bag, put it in water and let it sit, and put it somewhere that isn't too close because it gets very fragrant, not in a nice way. We had one year with a cover on it that we taped saying "Do not open," and you just sort of just let it sit and percolate and do its thing. And yeah, I don't really have a strict method of doing it. You're just sort of letting it break down in the water, and then that water becomes pretty nutritious.
Yeah.
Before, we used to do compost tea as well, and if we had a little like aquarium bubbler, that just moved the water around, and that sort of helped things like move them along, I guess, and also helped with like smell a little bit, but not everyone has the spare aquarium bubbler that they can use to make weird garden teas. But,
I guess it would be
if you
similar to
can-
like a compost bin, like the one that's just a pile as opposed to the tumbler.
Totally.
That
Yeah,
enables
that's
you
that
to-
kind of
yeah.
idea. So, if you want to get your garden tea power, bump it up a notch. There's lots of options. But for people that do stuff like this all the time, like it is, and some people are really into keeping their system closed and just using, what they have. So, lots of options. You just need a bucket.
I have smelled I think it's the Capelin tea version down the Fairland area with friends of the show, the Jaggers, and it was a thick,
Rotting fish.
formidable.
Yes. With some hair on your chest.
Yeah, or strip it right off.
Oh, yes, exactly. Who needs nose hairs?
Gone. Yeah, didn't need the nose hair trimmer at that point as a middle-aged man. Question from a caller. Got a plant, looks like hogweed. This is kind of a smaller 4 to 5 foot, but I want to get rid of it. I don't want to use chemicals because a friend of mine cuts the hay on my land for his sheep. That's speaking of Trepassey, Chris in Trepassey.
Yeah. So if it's smaller than giant hogweed and has a simpler leaf, it's going to be cow parsnip, which is like native to the island and especially on the northern penn, like really important for like bees and butterflies and that sort of thing, but obviously a big danger. So the biggest thing is that the sap is phototoxic. So you get some sap on you and then the sap interacts with the sun and that's what causes the burn. So what I normally do is like early in the morning when it's not too hot, I have like long sleeves on and eye protection and I put my hair up because obviously like a hair is going to get like on my nose and I'm going to want to scratch it. And big long gloves. And then I usually use like loppers or something where like it's away from your body and then just put it right into, I have like a big garbage bucket with a black garbage bag and just in as few cuts as possible and watching, like the sap shouldn't be flowing too much this time of year, but you want to like look for the milky sap and just put it right in the bag. And you can do it pretty safely. Definitely try not to like touch your eyes. And normally I do like a little sink bath afterward just to make sure that if any got on me, then the sun isn't going to interact with it. But you can do it. Yeah, you can do it really safely. And also, even if you just cut off because the flower heads are going to seed now, even if you just cut that off, that will help it not spread. But
and are you digging up the root? Like, are you getting?
I don't even dig it out. I just cut it at the base because I don't want to. Most of the time, if I just keep doing that. Now, once you've cut it, if you want to be digging around, but to me, I want as little interaction as possible. Sure. Normally, you can do it in a few cuts.
Yeah, and Chris said, it's phototoxic, so
yes.
So probably cow parsnip is what.
Yes, because we don't have people always are giant hogweed. Like there's more cow parsnip than giant hogweed, and if it's smaller, it's cow parsnip. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got Marvin on the line from St. John's. Hello.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've got an observation and a question. You were talking about seaweed. Yes. On your plants, on your gardens. I just collect it off the beach and plop it right on there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about washing it or cleaning it up or anything. I just, take it off the beach and put it in the garden. Go for it.
What's in your garden? What are you putting it on?
Oh, well, mostly root crops.
And when are you putting it on? You put it on right away, like throughout the year, in the spring and the fall?
Usually in the fall, sometimes in the spring and fall, depends. Anyway, the other question is watering and trade. I'm growing tomatoes in plastic buckets, 5-gallon buckets, and I'm trying to water them every second or third day. Is that enough or too much or what?
That's about right. You want I think it's about an inch per week, but your tomatoes will tell you, like, do they seem happy? Are they producing flowers? Are they not wilting?
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, they're really doing well this year.
That's good. I mean, they will need more water where they're in containers versus, like, out in a raised bed somewhere, so it sounds like you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah. And the biggest thing with tomatoes is consistent watering because that will help stave off, like, blossom drought and those sorts of, like, more fungally things that happen when you have big sweeps of moisture changes, I guess. So, yeah, if you're keeping an eye on it and keeping it steady, I think that's the best thing.
Yeah. Tomatoes don't like having damp roots. So as long as it's drying out in between water too, they like to not put
yeah. Well, every third day you take care of that.
Totally.
I pruned them. I've pruned them 3 times now to allow air to circulate and let the light get in at the fruit and the flowers and so forth.
Excellent.
I presume that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, as long as you're not cutting off too many flowers, so you're not losing too many tomatoes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just cutting the branches, if you will, that aren't bearing fruit or flowers, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, airflow is usually good for sure, especially. Yeah.
And towards the end of the season too, it is good to trim back. You can lose, I think, like 25 to 30% of the plant, and then the energy will go into the fruit that's already on the plant. So if you've got a lot of fruit there and you really want them to ripen sooner than later, then you can remove some of the green.
Right. Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, Marvin.
Awesome
Sounds
job,
like
Marvin.
everything's going really well. Cheers.
Great. Bye now.
All right, Marvin Collin from St. John's there. Let me see. We got a picture coming in here.
Ooh, like the
Text
pictures.
with pic. Yeah, like the world we live in today. Hi, my name is Sherry. I live in the town of Terra Nova. I have this little green bug eating some plants in my garden. Apologies for the blurry picture. It eats the leaves, especially likes my sunflowers, amaranthus and castor beans that are planted with lots of dill as a filler. I've Googled Japanese beetle because of the color, but this one doesn't have the spots that I see the pictures of the Japanese beetles online. Maybe it's an immature one. Any advice would be appreciated. I have just been treating the plants by pouring warm soapy water on them, and it does seem to be helping a bit. And here's the picture, the little green thing in the. I'll move the.
Oh,
It is looking, I was thinking aphid, but that's definitely a beetle of some sort.
yeah. I was thinking it was going to be a flea beetle. I mean, it definitely is not a Japanese beetle. You're right, which is great. We don't want to be seeing those if possible. But I mean, if soapy water is working, then I would keep that up. And with pest issues, it's all about observation and monitoring. And if you're keeping an eye on it and you're seeing, what is happening, then observation can be your best friend in terms of combating it. But also too, if I don't know what an insect is, I put it on iNaturalist or the Insect of Newfoundland group. They're great. And yeah, because I don't actually know what that is, but
I don't either.
it's really helpful. I find they
Where does one find this group? Facebook, I'm assuming?
Yeah, on Facebook, there's Insects of Newfoundland, but also iNaturalist, which is like a global citizen scientist project where I use it for many reasons, but also to help identify things. So most of the time you can get to a genus level with that. It's almost like adult Pokemon. Like you collect observations and your IDs.
Yeah, and it's just iNaturalist.
Yes.
.org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have your little app, and
That's cool.
Yeah, if you come to the garden, then we have a project, so you can see every insect and animal and plant that we've documented, and yeah, so that's a good tool for learning a bit more. But I find it really helpful in the garden because my insect game is not as strong as it could be, and it's good to.
Yeah. So for Sherry, keep doing what you're doing with the warm soap with the soapy water. That seems to be helping. You can check out what's the Facebook one locally again?
There's Insects of Newfoundland. Yeah.
Oh, I see that from time to time because typically it's like, what is the toe biters that we had? Like everyone's like, what is this? And then everyone's like, oh, that's a toe biter.
Yeah. And this year there's so many like hawk moths, or hummingbird moths, sorry. And it's cool to, plus insects are all part of it. So it's nice to know a lot more.
Neem oil is another thing you can use if you're finding the dish soap isn't working. We find we'll spray that on. I have major issues with my rose bush. It just doesn't want to grow, and I'm fighting whatever's eating it. I could, and neem oil is natural, but I do need to look into some more teas.
Yes.
I think it's the gut health of the rose that's the issue.
Maybe like a rhubarb leaf tea or something.
Yeah.
That's a
good one.
Insecticide natural.
This summer I really noticed we had some pots from last year with like some soil.
Yeah.
And put some stuff in them, but didn't really give the love to the soil that we should have. And then the new bed with sheep manure and stuff mixed in with it, and the soil was just a better quality. It was a great compare-contrast of what happens when you have, because the raised bed, everything went gangbusters. And in the little pots, it's kind of like, what you doing there?
Yeah.
A little bit of nothing. And so we've augmented that, and things are doing better now. But it's nice, like it's a nice little learning to have from like having this discussion every week, and then kind of trying to take in a bit of the soil health knowledge. On the food side of things, what are folks asking you about, Sara? Like when it comes to, as you're trying to incorporate more edible, I was going to say edibles, edible plants, not the other way I could have gone with that, but into a garden. What are you talking to folks about?
I think there's a lot of conversation around, there's a shift in thought of like you have to have your rows of potatoes and your row, like everything can be incorporated now. You know, we're sort of mixing the food with the flowers, and we're seeing better crops because the pollinators are going to come for the flowers and then kind of pollinate your peas. And or, you know, you can still have your raised beds with your vegetables in them, but maybe you're surrounding it with flowers, or there's just more of a mixture as opposed to having this thought like your vegetables are grown over there and your flowers are grown over there. Or even, you know, the change of thought of like visually having this perfect grass and you know, the vegetables are hidden in the back. Like now people are definitely more interested in doing it. And in the community, I'm finding also gardening just creates such a wonderful community, and people want to talk about it, and people want to share like what you know, how are your carrots doing? What have you done with your turnips? And also seeing people wanting to grow more interesting things, not just the root vegetables.
Yeah.
People, you know, like tomatoes, but like really neat kinds of tomatoes, and like, you know, melons and eggplants, like more and more, probably because of the climate change and what it's doing. But we're able to grow a larger variety of crops than a lot of people are aware of. So that's really exciting. And season extension, a lot of interest in that. Because to grow any of these sort of crops, we do need to look at like, you know, hoop houses or mini greenhouses or things like that we can just make our raised beds push the limits of our short season.
Yeah, which would be nice to have all of these like delicious things longer and more.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
We've got, I think, when I was talking about today's show yesterday, I mentioned we've been growing Swiss chard as well in the raised bed. And I think at this point, I'm probably, if you were to dissect me, I'm 25% Swiss chard because like there's just, we've been eating a lot of Swiss chard.
Brightly colored veins.
It is, yes, like more than I thought possible. Like I got home, it's like, here we go. How do we want to eat it now? We've given some to neighbors. But I do also, saying that, want to extend the season, right? To keep, because, you know, I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
And this is like the interesting part of like, how do we do that, right? And this is, as we move into the fall with gardening, we can have these discussions of covering it and that type of a thing.
Yeah, very important.
Let me see. We got, folks, so the 14 minutes left here. Gardening Day on the Signal, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255, 709-327-8206 for texts. And we appreciate the pics you've been sending in with them because it makes it easier for the discussion. Emails, thesignal@cbc.ca, same thing. George Williams is on the line from Gander. Hey, George, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for taking my call, Adam.
Thanks for calling.
Ladies, I just wanted to seen an interesting thing on one of the Facebook pages that they had a link to a new update for the zones, Canadian zones, and I think Gander traditionally, I think, was because of climate change and that, and Gander traditionally was a 4B zone, and I think now it's gone to 5B. So I guess with this climate change now, I think all the gardening zones has been updated, and sounds like climate change is here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first update since 2014, I believe, for the plant hardiness zone map, because Meghan, you and I were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. So they traditionally have updated it, I think, every like 20 years or something before. And Newfoundland is seeing most zones in Newfoundland have gone up half a zone, but some have gone up a full zone and some has stayed the same. So, for example, St. John's used to be 5B, now we're 6. So if you're curious about your zone, because there's many different zones in Newfoundland and Labrador, you can go on the natural, if you Google this, it'll send you to the Natural Resources website and you can put in your municipality and it'll tell you the zone. So some of the smaller ones, you might have to look for a municipality around you, but if you're curious, but yes, it's definitely here for sure. And I think all of it, it's important to note that, like, obviously climate change is very real and it's happening, but now it's very documented. You know what I mean? It's changing our maps and the way that we fundamentally live our lives. So that's very, very scary for sure.
And what is it for these zones, right? Mm-hmm. What is it like the change in zone? It obviously means a bit of a change on what you can plant, the length it can be, thrive for, that type of a thing. Yeah, go ahead, George.
I think it's basically for the hardiness, like the temperature, like it can go down to -40 or -30.
Yeah.
how hard it can take it.
Yeah. It's all based on the lowest temperature in the winter. But the problem is also with climate change is that lack of predictability. So, and everywhere there's microclimates as well. So there's always like a bunch of things at play. So, for example, at the garden, we've been growing things that are like zone 6 and 7 for a while, but it's all a big experiment. And sometimes it just takes one really heavy winter and things are gone. Or you have like damage from storms, or you have one late frost, or like this year where like everything started really early. If we would have had a frost at any normal time, that would have killed things off. So it is worth looking at the map for sure, but it concerns me, especially some of the rhetoric around like, okay, great, we can grow more. Like, well, if your life is on fire, if you could grow a new plant, like that's not, I don't think that's really the anyway.
Yeah, because we had a discussion on this yesterday, you and I, or over email, because there was a quote in a news story. Someone was really happy, but it's like, well, I mean, it's just about acknowledging the global impact of climate change and how it is deadly serious for some folks, but then also having a conversation of saying, but yes, and we can perhaps plant more things, and also it's living through the reality of what as climate has changed for where you're living.
Totally.
Well, and on that note as well, like planting more, growing more, and then preserving more, because with those crazy storms comes the potential again for us to be cut off.
So food security conversation.
And about...
Yeah, and of course it's all about extremes. Now with climate change, it's one thing to have warmer climates, but it's extremes. Whether you're talking about the rain and dry, how dry, see, or very dry or very wet, it's extremes in weather. Finally, I'd like to ask, I'm curious, I've seen a link the other day I was reading, and it was about indeterminate tomatoes, and normally most people always pick off the suckers, and this particular site was saying that it's probably better not to pick off the suckers, although you probably get smaller tomatoes, you get more, but it's totally unnecessary to take the suckers off.
I do pick my suckers off, but that is because I want bigger fruit. So you're right. They will eventually produce fruit. You're going to get a lot smaller fruit. It may take longer for them to mature. The other thing about picking the suckers off is that it's going to give more airflow to the plant, and it's going to keep it a little bit more contained for you to manage it. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot of articles on that as well. Yeah. So it's another one of those things you could do as an experiment. Maybe leave some of your suckers on and send them off and see what happens,
about that
right?
Experiment for sure. And some
How
of the
about
stuff.
Hot peppers?
Oh,
hot peppers, I tend to trim back when they're young. Like I'll sort of chop the tops off at a certain height to get them to grow bushier. But outside of that, I pretty much let them go as they're flowering and producing.
And some of this
talk about gardening experiments, and I always say that isn't life just an experiment? And happy gardening,
definitely,
yes,
yeah, definitely. And a lot of this stuff too, for George, is like you see stuff on the internet, and so it's hard to know who is talking about this. Are they in Florida? Are they on Vancouver Island? So
and what type of tomato and what type of pepper? Because often you're getting different plants that have different needs.
Yeah, totally. In a greenhouse,
just like people have different needs.
Exactly.
Have to do your research.
Complex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And keep experimenting, because that's how you'll learn, right? And I have a tomato that I brought home from Portugal. Don't tell anyone. But I had a bite of a tomato in Portugal, and it was the most amazing thing. And so I'm growing it here. It's an heirloom tomato, and it has its own needs, different than all the rest of my tomatoes.
And talking about experiments, like I say, like I always say that life is an experiment. It's funny. It's like most things in life, but it's like living. By the time you get older, you realize what you should have done, what you shouldn't have done. It's too late to do anything about it.
Totally.
Thank you so very kindly. Have a great gardening day.
You too,
George.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, we've got 2 calls left, 5 minutes, so 2 minutes, 30 seconds per person, plus a text to get to. Curtis from St. John's, you're up. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thoughts, questions, tips?
Yeah, so I got a 4x8 raised bed and planted my beets and some turnips about 3 weeks ago, so they're just starting to come up. I'm trying to use fertilizer, and I'm not really sure how I should go about doing that. It's the first time I've used it, and it's just in a clear plastic bag. So I think it's 3-15-6 if I have that right. But what's the best way to do it? Do I dilute it in water and put it in? And kind of how much am I looking for a 4x8 raised bed?
Is it a like the greens, or is it a slow release, or is it the one that you mix with water? Like, is it blue, or is it the actual?
I'm not sure. It's multicolored little granules that I picked up at one of the local gardening shops.
Yeah. Then it sounds like slow release. In which case, so you put it on your soil, and then over time it'll release slowly as water and the elements hit it, sort of thing. Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I know some garden centers will just sell it in a bag, but normally when you buy fertilizer, there'll be what's called an application rate. So it'll say how much per square foot. So if you're not sure and you know it's 3-15-6, then you can actually look up the application rate, and that'll tell you how much to put on, because especially with young plants, it can burn. If you put too much on.
Okay.
Sorry, Sarah.
Perfect.
No, agree.
All right. Well, I'll look that up.
Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you very much.
Philip is on the line. How you doing, Philip?
I'm doing well, Adam. Out here in central Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear people's different comparisons with what they're growing. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm a farmer on a fairly large scale with strawberries, I'm getting more and more in admiration of the gardeners, because I think that's the direction we have to move in, rather than think of my farm as a large-scale farm. I have to think of it as a very big garden. And that puts a different cast on it. I recently bought an electric lawnmower, and it's I find it pretty good. There's a couple of things. I've changed my mind that I'm not mowing my grass anymore for my sheep. So when I say that to myself, it changes the whole cast. The primary purpose is to reap the grass off it, not to make a pristine lawn. Having done that, it's been very interesting because I'm not throwing away a waste that goes out. I'm harvesting that and using it. So I'm finding I have to change my mindset about all kinds of things and change the language that I use, and that helps a lot. So that's one adventure I had. But the thing I'm doing right now is using black plastic mulch.
We've got about 30 seconds. Philip, we've got about 30 seconds for you.
Okay, I'm planting through it. And what I want to do is use something that breaks down in the soil. Do you know of any covering that will break down totally? There are some, but they won't last 3 or 4 years for my strawberry plantation that I need.
I mean, I would avoid using plastic on food, obviously, but if you're looking for something long term, I appreciate the draw to that. But I mean, any natural mulch will break down over time. I don't have anything that would last years.
Not years, but I mean, I would even do just really thick cardboard. Yeah, with mulch, and that'll last maybe 2 seasons. Just make sure you take the tape off.
Yeah. And again, that's going to
Yeah.
depend on how much rain we have and how much, it depends on what Mother Nature brings our way. But I would definitely avoid using plastic or rubber mulch, even though it's long lasting.
When I say mulch, I mean the plastic sheet that you put down and plant through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the landscape fabric.
No, it's not a landscape fabric. It's it's a black plastic that you unreel, comes on a roll.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you can unreel it down the field and tuck the edges in.
Right.
And it warms the bed
Philip, we got a jet.
Yeah.
You give us a shout back next week. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right, we're out of time. The quick question: clusters, apple tree loaded, clusters of 5 and 6. Should I snip out any apples that touch?
Well, I would thin it a little bit.
Thin it a little bit. Okay. Thanks for this. All right, we're out of time. That is it. Tomorrow, folks, I know it's Regatta Day in St. John's, but we've got a conversation that I did back in the spring. What do universities owe the public? Fantastic panel. Do listen tomorrow. Don't miss it. Cheers.